Robert Kraft, a month ago, after the Patriots lost in Germany to the Colts, decided he was going to part ways with Bill Belichick. Boom! There it is. According to Tommy Kern, I'll read you his words so you know exactly what he said and exactly what the report was. Quote, and this is on Arbella Early Edition on NBC Sports Boston, good friend Trenny. Tom said, quote, when they came out of Germany, conversations I had that week made it very clear that a decision was made. They were going to play out the string. And at the end of the year, there would be a parting of the ways for a variety of reasons. Tom later continued. It had gone too far. The Germany game, the Commanders game, the Saints game, all huge marquee games. And then there was that Chargers game after that. Just because they won last week in Pittsburgh in primetime, I don't think it quells anything. Well, so lot to unpack there. First of all, the obvious point is what we've been expecting for a while. Tommy came on this podcast weeks before he heard this, apparently after Germany. So we're talking like second week in November. And he and I agreed that the most likely outcome, this was week 6, okay, was that they would split at the end of the season. It wasn't reading tea leaves. It was looking at the roster, the history of coaches who win 45% of their games over a 4-year span, the drafts, Kraft proclamations, the offseason, I want to make the playoffs, and said, yeah, this is not going to get any better when Mac Jones is playing like he was, and you lost your 2 best players on defense, Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez, for the year to injury. So, I would say this, that if you don't believe this report, I would ask yourself why. Because I would suspect it's either because you don't like the cut of Tom's jib, or you just don't like what the news has to say. Because Tom's track record speaks for itself. Again, this was multiple conversations he had. Tom is someone who predates Belichick in the market. His relationship with ownership is well documented, so much so it's in multiple books, okay? And in fact, the book about the Patriots dynasty, written by Seth Wickersham. So this is a guy who's been a drinking buddy with Brady for a little while, talked a lot with Alex Guerrero, has been open about that, okay? Was all over Brady's exit from his perspective and ownership's. And so because of that track record and the facts of the case that I just laid out, again, think of any head coach or GM that typically survives a 4-year span where you win 45% of your games. Not many, let alone when that person has both jobs, okay? And the terrible drafts, 2022, jury's back, stinks. 2019, no one's here, no one's left. Kyle Duggar, Josh Uche, Michael Wynn, nice hits. In 2020, all might be leaving soon when they could have been locked up to extensions. The Patriots still have a ton of cash and cap space. Okay? Point to someone getting fired. And after that loss, which I thought was the end of the Mac Jones era, oh no! Apparently it was the end of the Bill Belichick era. 2-8, one of the worst interceptions you or I, and I don't care who you are listening to this or watching this, have ever seen when Mac threw the ball away. And Belichick, honestly, in retrospect, probably made an emotional decision. As much as Bailey Zappi has been proven to be a better quarterback than broken Mac Jones over the last few weeks. And we're not doing the Mac Zappi debate. I talked a lot about Bailey Zappi last week with Doug Kide. Great episode, by the way. I don't say that a lot. Give it a listen if you haven't already. And so I will just add this, because I talked to someone recently about Belichick's end of this. And this person told me that he has expressed within the building, people he works with closely, uncertainty about next year. And let's be honest, that's not entirely surprising. But it cuts against, and I'll use the word that I wish just could be shot into the sun, narrative, maybe rumors is better, put out by folks like Dan Orlovsky, not reporters who understand how to handle information, then package it and pass it on. Most importantly, get it confirmed, like it sounds Tommy Kern has in multiple places as far as his reporting goes, that Belichick knows he's gone and knows where he's going next. Which, I'll remind you, NFL stands for National Football League, and not for long. And that goes for players, it goes for coaches, it goes for any kind of plans. So I trust, of course, my reporting, otherwise I wouldn't share it here. If Belichick doesn't know where he's going to be, and if you think, well, he should want out, I don't think so. You work in one place for 24 years, you got your sons both on staff, you have full control and power. If you can extend that for another year, and of course have convinced yourself this isn't all your fault. I mean, come on. You just had bad injury luck, a bunch of close games. Bill talks about close games every single time he's on the radio now. All right? He thinks he can turn this around. He doesn't want to go anywhere in an ideal world. But of course, you and I both know this has not been an ideal world basically since Tom Brady walked out the door. Which really, if you want to make the greatest point of all, is that after this season, it'll have been 5 years for the New England Patriots without a playoff win. Now, granted, most NFL teams are okay with that because you look at the Miami Dolphins, those who got spanked on Monday Night Football, they have not won a playoff game in over 2 decades. That's an aside. Back to this. If Robert Kraft has made his decision, and Belichick, as I just told you, seems to not know what the future holds for him, again, telling people very, very close to him that he's uncertain and doesn't know, well, obviously, he's going to start making plans. So what do those look like? Well, it's back channels with his agent to other owners or executives. It's probably assembling a staff very quietly because we all know how the season's going to end. Okay, they're 3-10 right now. This is going to end 4-13 or 5-12, or heck, they might go 3-14. At which point, and Chad's been on the podcast. I have all the respect in the world for Chad Finn of the Boston Globe, but I think he might be the only one in the market that wants Belichick to stay. Honestly, a beautiful zag here, as Tom said, play out the string of the season. But if it's 3-14, and that's where we're headed, I mean, come on. We all know what's coming. And apparently Robert Kraft has known for a month. And I think it's understandable. I think it's the same decision I would have made in that moment. This team is beyond the dysfunction that I documented and reported on last year. It is a bad, hollowed-out, rotten football team with a bad coaching staff, and they all know it. And it appears, as they've all been waiting, because the only way we're going to know this for sure, and I can tell you, there are people in the front office, in the locker room, elsewhere in football operations, waiting for the end-of-the-year meeting when this will become concrete. And concrete, not necessarily in a way that Kraft will sit down and just fire him. No. They might have to negotiate a trade. And let's not forget, I just mentioned Belichick as an agent. Most coaches do. When they renegotiated last offseason, I would not be surprised, this is purely speculation, if Belichick has some sort of clause. It might be a no-trade clause. It might be control over his destination, if I am going to be traded kind of clause, which is to say, of course, the Krafts would rather deal an asset than just cut it loose for nothing. And then if Belichick wants to get in the way, he could. So we will either know whether this is a clean split via trade, clean split via firing, which, hey, maybe the Krafts are intent on just washing their hands and moving forward, or it gets messy, okay? So what happens up until that meeting is kind of the good stuff here, right? I mean, like, I'm excited to watch Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and maybe Taylor Swift come in on Sunday. And we've got 4 more games of football. And I tell you all the time, savor the football while we have it, okay? But this behind closed doors messaging is going to be really interesting because we've already broken down some of the, Belichick signed this lucrative multi-year contract from the NFL Network. And said, that's probably not accurate. All the reporting since then, it's not. What do we know now? Belichick is in basically a contract here because no coach in the NFL plays out as a lame duck. That's basically what he is now. And so what will he do, if anything, to steer this messaging back around? Because right now, Kraft is in the driver's seat of this whole PR campaign. And maybe Bill doesn't care. He is famous for not caring. There is football coach in Wikipedia, GM of the Patriots, which somehow comes up faster when you Google him, and then person who does not give a flying F. That's Bill Belichick in 3 titles. But I would argue he probably does. And how that comes out and how that manifests is a real question mark to me, but it sure as hell is really intriguing because right now I'm sure he does not love the questions that will come flying as we record here Tuesday, and I draw my pen, a Wednesday morning in his press conference, or Friday, and then Monday again on the radio, and then Wednesday after that, and the Friday after that, and we go on and on and on. Because right now, whether the Krafts wanted this out or not, Tom Curran let the cat out of the bag. And that cat is walking slowly all around Belichick's office, and there's nothing he could do to kick it out until we get to January 7th or 8th. And then they have their meeting, and we will all find out soon thereafter what is going to happen. But as far as we know now, and I believe this, and I think you should too, Kraft has made up his mind. We all know the reasons why. And does Bill push back? Does Kraft add to this? Does he say anything? Does he come out against it for PR purposes? I don't know. But my ears are open, and so are my eyes, and yours should be too.
FanDuel is the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.